Hey guys, thanks so much for joining. So I want to give a backstory about my wedding. I cannot believe it was almost 2 years ago. Now on my wedding, I did get a little extra. And by extra, I mean I had people floating from the ceiling passing out champagne to guests. Yeah, it was extra. But I had a great time. It was my one day, never getting married again, so I figured why not go all out? I mean, I did spend a lot of money that day. Well, my dad did. But you guys know what I mean. We are about to get into ways that you can save money or potentially have a wedding completely free. Let's talk about it now. So one of the first things that you can do if you want to have a lower cost wedding or be on a very strict budget for a wedding is to cut your guest list down. This will save on food, on decor, on venue. I mean, this will save across the board. I think that's the #1 thing. And the way that you can kind of determine that is if you haven't talked to that person in 6 months or a year or longer, kind of depending on your relationship with your family, you don't need to be inviting them to your wedding. You obviously, if you hadn't talked to them in a whole year, then you don't need to be inviting them to your wedding, in my opinion. You can also pay attention to the time of year and the day that you get married. Now, wedding season is usually May or June, and then it kind of goes like August, September, October. Those are pretty popular months because there's not a lot of holidays around there, and the weather tends to be pretty good in those months, most locations. So you'll want to pay attention to that. Now, Saturday is a very popular wedding day. A lot of people love to get married on Saturday. So if you have the ability to change your wedding day to a Friday or a Sunday, definitely look into that. The only thing that I would say about that is if you have a lot of guests that are traveling from out of town, having a Friday wedding means they probably have to travel all day Friday, which means they have to take the day off instead of leaving Friday evening to get to your wedding that Friday night. Or if you have it on a Sunday, you may have a few people that leave a little early because they have to go back to work on Monday. So just try to think about those times. Now, another thing you could do, and I think this is the sweetest thing, is going to elope. You can go to Vegas. They had like little $99 places where you could get married in Vegas. Me and my husband, he was my fiance at the time, went to Vegas when we were engaged, and I think people thought we had eloped because people were asking what happened in Vegas, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So you could always go there. No, you could also go to New Orleans. New Orleans does a lot of things like that as well, so definitely check that out if you're into eloping. Now, the only downside to that is you more than likely won't have your friends or family there, or you'll have very few friends or family there, so they won't be there for your special day, but it's really just about you and your significant other anyway. So another thing you could do is when you're choosing your venue, there are places where you can get married for free. Now, a lot of these places are like state parks or maybe your local church. The only problem with that is if you're looking for more of a party or you want to have like an open bar or something like that, you really can't do that, especially at a church. They're not going to allow that. And a lot of state parks and things like that may have a very small fee, like it may be like $100 for 4 hours or something like that. But usually alcohol is not permitted at those places. And then you also may or may not be able to have food. Also, if you decide to have it at a park, you got to think about the weather because you're kind of playing with Mother Nature. If you are getting married in May or June, it's extremely hot in certain places in the United States. So you really don't want to have your guests eating in the heat. It may make it uncomfortable, and people may leave your wedding early because they're very hot. Nobody wants to eat outside. People love you, but they're not going to want to eat outside in the heat. They may want to leave early or at least go somewhere where they can have some air. Another thing you're able to do is downsize or completely skip your bridal party. I loved my bridesmaids to death, but man, did I spend a lot of money on them. So I would say to definitely either have a stricter budget for things like that or completely 86 a bridal party. Now, one thing I noticed Meghan Markle did at her wedding, she actually had kids in her bridal party, which I thought was super duper cute. So you could always do that. The problem with kids though, you know, kids, you just never know what they're gonna do. So you might want to make sure it's like well-behaved kids, or maybe just kids that are a little older, because they'll more than likely do right. But you know, just be careful with that. Another thing you're able to do is completely 86 or cut the cost of flowers down. So my flowers, I actually caught someone who was a little bit newer, and she was a florist, but she was really good, but she was just very new to it. So her prices were very low. My flowers at my wedding were absolutely gorgeous, and although it was such a big venue, I had a lot of flowers, but it didn't really look like it because the venue was so big. Another thing you're able to do is cut the photographer. I personally think cutting a photographer out of your wedding is not the smartest thing to do, but finding one that is a good photographer is something you need to invest in. I definitely learned my lesson on that the hard way, but there are some really good photographers that you can find that do an exceptionally well job, so definitely look into those. You could also see about having the actual wedding at a friend's house or someone's home if someone has a really nice house. I have seen this done and it is beautiful. If you know someone who has a beautiful level yard or beautiful level lot and they allow you to have the wedding there as long as you clean and you know no one messes or breaks anything, that would be perfect because that would save you a ton of money. You'd be able to put maybe a tent in the backyard and you know, just make it really pretty. Just make it yours. I think that would be absolutely gorgeous. Now another thing that I'm seeing a lot of people do is just going to the courthouse and getting married. There's nothing wrong with going to your local courthouse and saying I do, signing the papers, and then going home or going straight into your honeymoon. A lot of people are starting to do that now just because the cost of weddings is getting ridiculous. So I totally understand that too. Now I hope that this information helps someone, and if you are getting married, congratulations. It is such an exciting time. My advice to you is you only have one wedding day. Don't let anyone ruin your day, no matter what it takes. Always smile. Make sure that you hire a videographer because that day is going to go by so fast. You're not even going to remember a lot of it and you'll be very sad. But if you have a wedding video, you'll be able to always see the highlights and things like that. I hope you guys have a great day. If you are not subscribed, you guys know I talk about ways to get paid and to save on this channel. I'd love for you to be a part of this. Definitely subscribe. I will talk to you guys later.